Let's do it. Everybody, welcome. Thank you for being part of this conversation. It is the February 2024 ICA monthly meeting. If that's not what you're intending to attend, you are in the wrong place. If it is, then right on. You are right where you should be. I see everybody here as a dignitary in one way or another. Our Zone 33 Rotary Coordinator, Terry Weaver, is with us. Our twice removed past Rotary Coordinator, Chris Jones, is with us. And then everybody else is a mixed bag. Jose from the mothership, welcome to you, sir. And I just appreciate everybody being here. Jeremy is not going to be able to make it tonight. He is still somewhat under the weather, as I understand. Patrick Eakes, our director-elect, as of about an hour and a half ago, called me at a dead stop on I something.
85, and it's all my fault.
It is, he did mention that it was all your fault, Carol. That's correct.
Yes. He spoke at my Rotary Club today. Yay!
Yes, his GPS was saying that he would be home at 5:21. So if he is and he comes on, great. When he does, I would ask everyone unmute yourself, and no matter what we're talking about, everybody wave and say, "Hi, Patrick." Can you do that? Great. I don't see any of the members of the Zone 34 ICA team, but that's okay. But again, welcome. And I want to do one more thing, and I don't see her on the call. Sandy Olson, who was originally my counterpart starting 1 July of this past year, has decided that she wants to turn her attention to some other things in her district. And she has decided in a very amenable way to step away from being the other zone ICA, if you will. Not sure what that means moving forward, whether we're going to, seek someone that might want to fill her shoes if that's possible, or we may go with a whole new format. But I personally want to thank Sandy for the time that she did spend, and I would ask all of you make some kind of a gesture that you're in accordance with feeling the same way as I am. That's great. So let's recap just a little bit. I want to share the screen if I may, and I'm running the tech and doing the talking too. So I apologize if I mess this up. However, slideshow from the beginning. Let's just do a little recapping if we may. Can everybody see that PowerPoint screen? Is it up? Yes. Thank you, Luke.
Yep, it's good.
What we talked about last month. A lot of re's. We reviewed how we approached the first half of the Rotary year. We decided we were going to focus on refueling beyond the holiday season as we do the turn, if you would, midway. And then we started to revisit how to plan even a stronger second half. Now, there's that word, plan. You might remember in December, January, we just about beat that word to death. Planning. Do you have a plan? What's the plan? Rotary action plan, this plan. Do you plan to plan? For the January call, we asked for your plan. And in hindsight, I think that turned out to be a little too ethereal. Too much of a blank sheet, if you would, with not really in any direction. So this month, we decided to try a different approach, designed to make that planning of the plan a little easier. And also, in the meantime, promoting accountability for all of us serving as our district's ICAs. So moving forward, and we're going to try this. And if this turns out to work, then we're all geniuses. And if it doesn't, we'll punt and we'll move to plan C. But we want to together develop a zone plan that each of our districts can use. If you have been tuned into any zone level calls lately that Terry was presenting, you have recently learned that Zone 33 is currently 4th among the North American zones in membership growth this year. So we're trying to find a way to develop and identify our best practices. So as your zone ICA, I went out on a mission for all of you, my gift to you. A little R&D, if you will. We all know what that means in the world of Rotary. I attended a meeting called NAICA, North American ICAs, and I learned that some of the other zones in North America have developed a plan. It was attached, in fact, to a couple of the last meeting reminders that I'd sent out to you in advance of today's call. Hopefully, as the email asked, you took a little bit of time to look it over. As for now, for the purposes of tonight's call, I would like to see if we are all interested in discussing that as a group and do some of the work that's necessary to be even a little further along this journey on our next call. So if you will again bear with me, I'm going to share the screen and I'm going to put up here those attachments that were sent with the last email. Can everybody see that PDF? Great.
Yes.
I see very little value in reading it to you. That's something that hopefully you've done a little bit of and continue to do after this. But as you can see, just from this new club builder position description, and again, I have not changed this. This is the way it was provided to me. It comes from our friends over in zones 26 and 27, which geographically means it's the strip above Texas. And then at the top, when it gets to Canada, it kind of hangs a right and includes that Great Lakes area. And they call themselves not innovative club advocates. They call themselves new club builders. Now, here's why they call themselves that. And please do not take offense to this. It's not meant to be offensive, but it was interesting enough that I wrote it down. Their Zone 26, 27 ICA people say that advocating isn't enough. You have to get your hands dirty. The best way to do that is by building clubs. That's why their position is called new club builder and not necessarily innovative club advocate. So as you can see from this sheet, it's kind of a job description or it lays out the skill sets of those that are being sought to be new club builders. It mentions seeking accountability. It lists certain expectations. And then at the bottom, it talks about these commitments. And, we all know that this is a voluntary organization. And you can see at the bottom of this template that there's a disclaimer reminding us of all of that. However, even with volunteers, a commitment is necessary. Everybody on this call, with the exception of maybe one person who draws a paycheck from Evanston, no offense, and we won't name names, are volunteers in all of this. But that doesn't mean that we lack commitment, because if we do, then I think we're in the wrong place. So we can be both. We can be committed and voluntary. And again, the abilities of the people on this call should have no problem living up to that. So the other thing that I want to show you was the other document that was attached. It's a 2-page document and it provides a plan. Again, pay no attention to that P word. I've killed it the last couple of months. What it really is are stages. It's sequential steps that are taken to get you from beginning to end. And one of the things that we had talked about the last few months was trying to find a way to organize our thoughts, be accountable, keep track of where we are in the various steps of, on our spreadsheet, going from blue to yellow to green, if you will. So you can see it starts with identifying the new club opportunities. Does anybody have an idea what you think our equivalent in this zone pair of 33-34 would be to identifying those new club opportunities? Anybody? Do you think that we already have a tool that helps us do that, perhaps? I can give you my first thought when I read that was Grow Rotary. If you've ever been to Grow Rotary and you see the big dark spot on the map where there's no club, even though there is population of communities, that to me is how, at least one way, you can identify a new club opportunity. And then assembling experts in your district, that to me is just building your team, I think.
Sean, can I assume that we're talking about commit to launch 2 new clubs or innovative clubs, not legacy clubs, while we're here? Or are you considering both?
John, I hadn't thought of it in those terms. This is an ICA call, correct. But our spreadsheet, our Google sheet that we use, does contemplate, standalone clubs as well as companions and quote unquote satellites.
Yeah.
Terry Weaver's on this call, and I will bet that if he were asked that question, he would tell you, I don't care what kind of club it is, as long as you're willing to build it and it grows money,
That's what I was saying.
Terry, you're on here.
I
You
think-
might be muted. I don't see you readily.
I think this was answered on the Zoom formation call, and I believe either one count.
There you go.
I
Does that
I
answer
will,
your question, John?
I
Yeah,
will
that answers
second,
it.
I will second what Terry says.
Okay.
You know, with the quickest way to grow membership is opening new clubs.
So let me stop there. Again, I don't mean to be reading this to you, and it is a blank form, but it's blank for a reason, so that all of us can figure out what goes into the blanks, right? What are some of you seeing as you look over this? What comes to mind? Anybody want to share their initial thoughts as to, is this solid? Is this something that you all think we can work with? What is it, good? Is it bad? Indifferent? Don't care? Tell me what, anybody have any thoughts about it, just in general, this idea of this particular example of R&D?
I like it. The only anomaly is it seems like it's short about 6,000 words for a Rotary document.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing.
Well said, Rich. Anybody else have any initial thoughts?
So Sean,
I think
when I saw it right away and I would like to identify clubs in my district that aren't creating innovative clubs that should be. So from a district standpoint or a membership standpoint, I think my membership team should be saying, who hasn't started an innovative club and where should we go next? And
All right.
who do we convince?
John, you said your membership team. Is that in any way different than your innovative club team? Is that one and the same? Or how would you describe the composite of what you just said?
We have an innovative club advocate, and but that advocate is part of our membership committee. And so I think the whole membership committee should be looking at areas when we meet where they should be having a satellite or a companion club or an impact club, and we should be going to her saying, why haven't you been to Dover? Why haven't you been to Wilmington? And we should be looking at clubs that could have more than one. We have one club now looking at a second one.
So you think that as far as identifying the opportunity, it's not just where there is no Rotary, but it could be where there could be additional Rotary attached to existing. Rotary.
Any town.
Sean?
Yes, go ahead, Al.
Yeah, thank you. I also think, identifying new club opportunities is when you, as an ICA, speak at whether a membership summit or at PETS or at a district assembly, or even just at a club meeting, where clubs say, we're interested in that, we need help. We'd like to explore the opportunity of some type of innovative club, maybe an impact club, and that's your opportunities. I mean, I visited 4 different clubs in the last 3 weeks, all of which called me and said, hey, we'd like you to come and speak about an impact club. And one of them we're going to be chartering March 1st, and 2 more their boards have approved moving forward with impact clubs. So if we talk about them at district events, the opportunities will come to us because clubs will say, I'm interested in that. That's something my club needs. My club needs some help, at least in my district.
Can I ask you a follow-up question based on what you just said?
Sure.
I heard you say it at least twice. They clubs come to me, or clubs come forward, or something like that. You said it twice. Is that your experience? Is that the way it works in 7305, that the clubs know where to go to gain the assistance they need to make these sorts of opportunities realized?
Well, I hope they do, because a lot of them seek me out, call me when our district governor, John Hartman, has made his official visits. That's always part of his official visit, is not only membership, but innovative clubs. and gives them my name and contact information. I've gotten several calls from that. So, I've spoken at pets and district and other different things, and clubs will, people from clubs will walk up to me and say, hey, I like what I hear. Can you come and speak at my club? We need some help.
Can hold that thought. I don't want to get too far off that grid that I had up on the screen, but my friend Dana in 7360, you told me a story just today as you were serving in some district leadership role. I don't remember if it was governor or DMC, but you had an experience where you weren't even aware that a club had been created, which is kind of the other end of Al's rainbow, if you will. Correct? Do you mind sharing that with everybody?
Yeah, so 3 years ago as district governor, and I was going around doing my visits and having my talks with possibly starting a satellite as a way to grow your membership. 3 different clubs in our district already had satellites, but had never registered them, so to speak. So I had no clue. The Oakland, Maryland, half of their members are in what they call their satellite evening meeting. The other half are in their noon meeting. And so, yeah, I did find that interesting. And in those years, I've tried to convince them to register them. They have not. We have several satellite clubs that are registered now, but not those. So, yes.
Thank you for letting me put you on the spot that way. I
Sure.
saw some other people shaking their hand. I actually saw Mary Jo in disbelief like this. Was disbelief the right word, Mary Jo, when you hear that?
Yeah, because I'm the ICA for 7770, and it's hard. It's hard. I mean, I've reached out to clubs. I've not gotten any inbound. Let me put it that way. There's been no inbound. We've reached out. It's radio silent. It's been pretty frustrating, to be
But
honest.
in your mind, there's no question that if there's a club in 7770 that needs innovative club advocacy attention, they know where to turn for it. Is that
I
fair?
have no idea. I don't know that. I mean, I've reached out. I haven't reached out to all 70 clubs in the district. I have a partner, Heather, that works with me. We've reached out to a bunch where we hear anecdotally there might be some interest, but it's been very, very hard.
Sure. Mark Milby, I think I saw your head almost explode when Dana told that story. Is that correct? And you're muted, sir.
There are clubs I know of in our district who have an informal satellite club. I call it informal because they haven't, officially certified themselves, but they exist. But trying to move them to formalize, which there's no expense to it or anything, it's just filling out a document and having the district governor sign it. But that's kind of where I know of at least 3 clubs that have them. And how do we get them to move the needle towards certification of that?
That's a perfect segue. Well, let me get to these folks that have their hands up first, and then we'll move on. Ken, I
Sure.
saw yours next, if you don't mind, sir.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. Two points. First, to John Major's point about working with your DMC. Yeah, that's how ICAs are going to find out what clubs are struggling, have an interest in creating an innovative club or some other club model. But as you were so kind to attend our membership summit 2 weeks ago, since then, I've had 4 clubs reach out to me saying there was a conversation about attracting younger members. How do we do that? And I think that's what we need is we need to get the word out through membership summits or some other vehicle that there are other alternatives to their existing club. I had a long conversation today with one club. They're an older club and they don't want to move away from tradition, but yet they want to still attract younger members. They meet on Wednesdays at noon. And I talked to him about, you need to be thinking about other club models that fit a different individual. As everybody says on this call, one size does not fit all. So to everybody on this call, work with your DMCs and have a membership summit. Al DeLucia was there, Terry was there. That's how you get the word out about these different models. So thanks.
Absolutely. Anybody else want to chime in about the way the model looks in their district? Because
So-
that's what we're talking about.
Sean, Carol Burdette here.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to say that we do have a satellite club, and it is mostly young professionals. But our noon club has also recruited and has a lot of young professionals that have joined. And they're loving the energy and the opportunity. So I don't think we should sell out our legacy clubs completely to saying they're not attractive to young professionals. I think it's all about what they're doing. If they're a very engaging club, you could still get young professionals during the day.
Is your Sean, can I jump in on that for a
Good,
second?
please do, Chris, please.
So, gosh, Carol, you just brought up a great point. Al DeLucia is on this call, right? I think I saw Al somewhere.
He is.
Yep, there he is. Al, can you talk a little bit about your club and what happened in your club as you opened up the Impact Club there? Relative to the number of new members that joined?
You mean that joined my traditional club?
Yeah, that joined your traditional club because of opening the Impact Club.
Sure. Yeah, when we chartered the Impact Club, it created so much energy in our traditional club and also energy in the community that we had people coming to our traditional club breakfast meeting because they wanted to find out more about Rotary and because of what they had seen and heard from the service that our Impact Club was doing in the community. They came to our club, liked the fellowship, liked the energy in our traditional club, and joined our traditional club. So we picked up 5 new members of our traditional club when we chartered, just soon after we chartered our Impact Club. We inducted 7 new members. 5 of them were traditional club members. 2 of them were added to the Impact Club. So yeah, the Impact Club model really created not only a lot of energy among its members, but also among our members and among potential members.
And I think that's a great point, Al, because the energy that new club creation generates in our areas creates a lot of interest in people learning more about Rotary, and then they come and they learn about Rotary, and then they select a model that works for them. And that's really what we need to be doing, is facilitating that opportunity to get people engaged and interested in Rotary, and then selecting a club that works the best for them.
Absolutely.
So I think we're still on this first square. And again, we don't have to hit all these tonight. We're certainly not going to have time to formulate a plan. That's the teaser for the end. But identifying new club opportunities can come in all flavors, shapes, and sizes. Then that seems to be the consensus. Is that fair? I think so. We've talked about assembling the experts and the development of a team. John had mentioned that. Mary Jo kind of backed her way with her comments into creating the communication plan. It's important to find the way to get the word out, to make sure that the people in the clubs with the opportunities know where they can turn, right? And maybe hold informational meetings, as you see there in number 4, could be part of 3. Let me go away from the form. You know, we've got this Excel sheet where we have our goals and our information and our results, our successes in numbers. Do you think there's any value in putting those kinds of concepts into words like this plan seems to imply goes in those particular squares? Anybody have any thought in that sense? And I smell smoke. Everybody's thinking about it. You know, is it easier to understand? Is it easier to track? Is it easier to enjoy the fruits of your labor if you put some of those things into words as opposed to numbers, I guess is what I'm asking.
Sean, I agree with you 100%. We just had some discussion in our district about asking our ICA person to document to us who those 7 or 8 potential clubs were. So we had an inventory, so we weren't doing double work. Someone else wasn't trying to create a satellite in the same area. So I think that there's more to it than just numbers. You need an inventory from a district standpoint.
Well, all right, let me ask you this, and I hope this isn't too philosophical, because the idea is to narrow this down into something that's you can actually get your hands on with nuts and bolts involved. That's assuming we take that template and we create something out of it that we all believe will work, and that we start trying to put it into practice, so that there is accountability and there is an understanding, and it's easier for clubs to find us and us to find the opportunities, those kinds of things. Is there a way to leverage that plan to relate to your own individual district's ICA efforts?
Sean, I'll speak as a former ICA, and that's that in our district, I created personal membership coaches, and we have a spreadsheet that has tabs for various lists and things in different formats and orders, but we also have a tab for each PMC, where with there are 4 or 5 clubs, it's just a big thick row where they can put their notes in about the conversations with those, and maybe something like that. It would be maybe not the same spreadsheet that you already have that has so many tabs, but something with a tab for each district where they can go in, Google Doc or Google Spreadsheet, and just update it so everybody can see what they're updating if people don't mind having that. So it's a way to have everything.
Good.
And everything for a district is on one tab. Now, it doesn't have to be something that the zone does, but it would be if there was some format that the zone came to the districts could use, it might be a place for them to store all the information and the latest conversations they're having with the different clubs.
Got it. Speaking of, Terry, I see your hand up. Please, sir.
Speaking again as a former district ICA, that's the way we did this. We had a team of about 3 or 4 ICA, 4 or 5 ICA assistants, if you will, in the district. We had a call once a month, about a week ahead of this call, and we basically had a single spreadsheet with just each of the prospects listed by host club name, and then state of the situation in one column, and what we're doing next in the other. And then we treated each of those players in the district team as something like an account manager. So, for example, we had people in the Anderson area, for example, working with the Anderson Club, and others, kind of roaming the district. Now, I did not do area specific assignments. Everybody was a free agent, but once we spotted an opportunity, we tagged that with the host club name and tagged that with the team member responsible. Then we had a call basically just to walk through those each month.
Fantastic. Some of that sounds familiar.
I think the idea is you'll get more people participating and doing more if they have somewhere to put the results of their conversations in some sort of logical place that's central, and that they can easily go update something on a spreadsheet, and then whoever you want to give permission to view it can view their notes.
Great idea. Mark, I see your hand up next.
Yes, I've been using a spreadsheet to track kind of my steps, and with each club, the use of the spreadsheet is what kind of keeps all the details together. But it's what I use to track and guide my activity with any prospective clubs.
Great. Patrick Longano, I saw your hand up. Don't be shy and take it back down, man. But if there's anybody on this call that is familiar with steps of a program, it's the guy that helped create companion clubs, right? Please don't be bashful. What was it you wanted to contribute, my friend?
Nothing. I've learned since our last call, I don't need to say everything, so I'm good.
That's
And it
true.
doesn't
But
need to be said by me. So I'm good. I'm just here supporting everybody. If anybody needs any help, I'll be more than happy to help them.
I saw your hand go up. I just wanted to get to you, man.
No worries. I appreciate you, brother.
Anybody else have anything they want to do? Mary Jo, go ahead.
Yeah, I love that. I have a document and I love the idea of sharing it. So I never thought about that. That's my big aha. I'm going to share my document with Lou and Sandy and see if we can get a little bit more consensus on how
So
to move this
see,
needle.
after all this time, last 2 months, some of y'all really did have a plan. You just weren't willing to tell anybody that you had a plan.
Exactly.
All right, well then here's the big ask. I've got 5:30 already, and there's nothing that says that we have to go an hour, although I'm glad to stay as long as anybody else wants to. But again, here's the big ask. Who among us wants to be involved in continuing the conversation offline between this call and the next month's, where we can take that template, use it, discard it, do whatever we want to do, and actually try to put something together that can be shared with this group before the next month's call? Is there anybody that's just got a burning desire to raise their hand? Patrick, you got your hand up on purpose this time or no? You in?
You had me at hello.
Right on. I'm going to write your names down. Plus, this call is being recorded, so you can't say it's a mistake if you get your name on this list.
Yeah, spell my name right. Terryrwe.
Andy Young, Rich Swan, Patrick Longano, Mary Jo. You've already got a list. I think you'd be a valuable contributor to this. Are you in?
I'll do my best.
There you go. That's the team spirit. Anybody else? Mauger, you talked half the night. You want to be on that team too? All right. See, peer pressure works every time. Anybody else want to be part of this new sub of a sub? Al, was that your hand on purpose? You're muted, sir. You got it.
That's
So
my
I can
hand on
record your
purpose,
answer.
John.
All right. Right on. Anybody else?
John, Miss Andy Young has had her hand up for a minute.
I've got Andy on the list. Is that what you're volunteering for, Andy? Yes or no? Yes. Did you also have a question?
I did not have a question,
Okay.
just volunteering.
I thank you for that. Well, that's great. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different people. Again, I don't mean to just create a new task for any of us to have to try to accomplish. It's February in Rotary. We're getting ready to hit one of the busier seasons as it is. But again, I mean, the idea for all of us to assemble is to make this easier and better and more efficient and friendly and effective. And I think that the time to, in the nicest way possible, to stop talking about some of these things and start seeing if we can't do some of them has arrived. So I appreciate all of you doing that. With that said, I'm not going to throw that thing back up at you. You've all got it. You can look at the rest of it on your own time. That's fine. Let's move to some open discussion just for a few minutes, if you'd like. I've got 5:34. Is there anything of a different topic or flavor that anyone on the call would like to bring up and throw around to the group?
Well,
Nothing?
Sean, I'm very excited that we are going to be launching a new satellite club in District 7750 next week in a fast growing community of Indian Land, which is south of Charlotte. And they have a lunch club, but felt like an evening satellite club would benefit them. And so they're rocking and rolling. I'm hoping to get over there next week.
I'll just add, if it's that close to Charlotte, don't you really think it ought to be in our district?
No.
So I do want to throw something out just for a comment, and that's that we have a club that's small, that's very focused on service, and they're wanted to start a new club that was just people doing nothing but a particular service project. In this case, recruiting students for youth exchange. So anyway, there's 8 of them that are very interested in joining, but even the idea of a satellite club or a companion club was a little more than they wanted administratively. And I think what they're probably going to do, in talking with the president of the parent club, is just become members of the parent club, and the parent club has a new membership category the service only category like a lot of clubs have, that lets them, they're not expected to attend the meetings, that they pay RI and district dues like they would anyway. But just, I'm curious about people's thoughts on, you got enough to have a companion club, but you really don't want to even have the futz around with having a president and all that sort of stuff, that you just want to do the service. So why not just join the parent club and have a service category that has a little cheaper dues and be done with it and still accomplish the same thing?
Right. Understood.
Well,
Chris Justice, I see your hand up, sir. And you are muted. There you go.
Yeah, I got you. All right. So just wanted to give a quick update on the Impact Club that we've been working on. We did an info session at the end of January. That was the first info session for it. Converted 10 out of 10 that showed up to the info session. We've got our second info session on, I believe it's scheduled for February 20th. And I will say that, I have a couple of comments. I was going to bring this up at the last meeting, and I think it's a good segue from what I'm discussing with the Impact Club. We've been very deliberate about making sure this launch is really buttoned up, that people know exactly what they're getting into, that the technology works, that the that the registration for it is everything works as it should. Everybody involved in it knows what they're talking about and can communicate that effectively to the folks. Really, all those steps that Patrick Logano keeps talking about. And I want to bring up that we've had two we'll call them what you want to, companion clubs, satellite clubs fail this year in 7690, and I think in doing the postmortem of those efforts, it's it's really because they were. All right. Okay, so I think it's not the clubs were not buttoned up at all in those two situations. I mean, they had leadership issues, and the leadership issues, they simply couldn't find leaders. I mean, that's that's why, not why people joined that club. People joined that club because they wanted service opportunities, and the clubs launched them without having a clear definition of who in the parent club was really going to support those clubs. So they were quick to launch. In my opinion, I thought both ideas were strong ideas, but really just poorly executed. So I would say to this group, I mean, it's great to have the ideas, it's great to get them moving forward, and we need to be doing all that. But, I would just caution, sometimes speed is not your friend, and, you need to make sure that all the elements are in place before you actually launch. And I would, highly recommend, if there's any question about how to do it in terms of the steps and the support that need to be provided, Patrick's an awesome resource. I know there's others on the call that are awesome resources that have had good working models. So just putting that out there.
Chris, if I'm hearing you right, it might be a good idea to add to that template or whatever product this group creates, something at the end that continuously reminds you to provide oversight, or at least acknowledgement that you can't just cut and run. Patrick Longano's last step of Impact talks about, we don't just set you up and then split. I mean, we continue to support you moving forward. And I think that might be an important part, so that we aren't telling more stories like the one that you just told.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, it's great. I think from the entrepreneurial standpoint, right? You get a great product, you launch it, you get it out in the market. Well, what then? And I think that's really 7690. We really launch these things earlier than a lot of districts. So, the benefit that we have over some of the other districts is that we've seen some of these efforts run their cycle, right? And so, we're learning a lot, as we see some of those efforts struggle, and, really learning, okay, well, what do we need to supplement as ICA teams and as membership teams? And I think, for me, the big takeaway is, it maybe pump the brakes a little bit when you're developing these things, right? Like make sure, and that's not to say, look, I know the alarm bells as far as membership, and I'm not suggesting that we don't make the efforts. What I'm suggesting is that when we do make the efforts, we make sure everybody is educated, and that, we're just deliberate and smart about these decisions rather than cavalier about it.
Right, right on. Let me, anybody else have anything they'd like to throw out with regard to that? I saw a few people had put in the chat and sent me messages as well, about having difficulty finding those documents. I went ahead and put links to them again in the chat, so you can reach over there and grab them before we go, if you'd like to have either the instruction sheet, if you will, or the template itself. And if you need anything beyond that, just, shoot me an email, reply to the meeting reminder, whatever else. I'll be glad to help you with anything I can. Terry, I see your hand up, sir.
Well, I'd echo Chris's point that, putting one of these innovative clubs together is more than just finding some people that say they want to join. We have to make sure that we have a reasonable leadership strategy for within that extension club, satellite club, companion club, impact club, whatever it is, that we need at least a small core. And I really do think that perhaps a couple people peeling off from the host club may be the better plan. Some people that know something about Rotary, and that all needs to be lined up before we, declare ourselves launched.
I will suggest, and Chris, I see your hand. Give me just 1 second while it's fresh in my head and before I lose it. Our district 7545 just created a new satellite club in an area that was the black hole on Grow Rotary, kind of like the last one we did. And it wasn't intentional, but just kind of through some brainstorming, the host club is doing that. They have a couple different members of their club, the parent club, attending the satellite meetings. It's not the same ones every time. It's not to talk about the same things every time. It's the treasurer, it's the service chair, it's the foundation lady, it's the project guy, the program director. So they're getting a taste ongoing and learning how to Rotary as a verb, in bite-sized chunks, so it's not quite as overwhelming. But more importantly, it's not going to be foreign to any of them for long, because despite the informational meetings that we had with them, both at the club level and the district level, you don't know what you don't know, right? And you as a learner, someone who's trying to help that process, you don't always know what it is that needs a learning, as we say in West Virginia, right? So, Chris, I saw your hand back up again. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry about that, Sean. I neglected to say, I felt like I needed to expand a little bit whenever I talk about, a buttoned-up launch. And, one of the things that I think is tough, when you're launching one of these is like how, it's not just the steps. It's really the practical implications of the paperwork and, taking applications and all that stuff. And I just want to put a plug in, for Patrick Longano's group. I mean, they offer for at least the first year, for these new impact clubs, they offer the app for free. So and they will train you on how to do it, and that entire framework to manage, the impact club especially is built into the Ignite app. So, and it works in coordination with modules on DAGDB. So, it's out there. It doesn't cost anything at launch, which is super important, when you're building the base of dues and all that. I know sometimes practically it's hard to get the upfront money. It's hard to figure out, okay, who's going to process applications and all that. And it's there. I mean, it's built in. And, I know that Longano gets picked on for talking a lot, but, I've actually never heard him plug that part of it. And it is, I mean, it's an important piece, and it's free. So, at least it's free to us. I know it's not free to them, but they're very generous in helping clubs launch for that first year. So I wanted to say that before
Right.
closing.
I see two more hands up, or actually three. But if we could, before we get to that, would everybody like to wave and say hello, Director-elect Patrick?
Hey,
Hello,
Patrick.
Patrick.
Great. Thanks, everybody. Chris Jones, your hand was next, sir.
Thank you, Sean. Appreciate the call on. So I want to support the point of having leadership in these new clubs. I was a charter member of, I started my Rotary life as a charter member of a brand new club. And we were fortunate. We had a leader from another club in town. This is in 7620. We had a leader from another club that stayed with us for the first 3 years. And they were at every single club meeting, every single board meeting. And they shepherded us through all of the questionable areas that we had. And it was just so critically important. And I think it gave us the continuity that we needed and the ability to create future leaders, because they were there guiding and supporting us and holding our hands, basically. So I think that is a critical component of success in getting these new clubs not only off the ground, but staying off the ground.
Very well said. Very well.
Chris, that was Alan Ray, wasn't it?
Alan Ray, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, he was from my club. And that was the year I was president of it.
Yep.
Nice. Carol.
Many years ago.
Oh my gosh. Thanks for sharing, Chris.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. Carol, I saw your hand next. We've got a few more minutes. Did she disappear? Her hand was up. Now I don't see her at all. Anyone else? Okay, Patrick Longano.
Hey, I just
You're muted, sir. Patrick
Patrick,
Longano,
you're
you are
muted.
muted. Oh man, he is not going to be happy. There he is.
His lips are moving. There he is.
You were muted, sir.
sorry, I just wanted to say thank you to Chris for putting that out there, but just want to make sure that everybody knows on this club or on the call that it all started with Chris and the leadership there at DECDB long before I came on board. Any satellite club or companion club has always been able to use the modules for free when they're starting. And not just that, any new standalone club, Chris implemented this, if I'm not mistaken, when he came on board, that any new standalone club gets free use of the service for the first year that they're in there too. So as you're talking to your clubs out there, they get to use the resource and then they don't have to pay for it. And because we'd rather their money go back into the club and grow. So thank you for bringing that up. I just wanted to make sure that if you guys have got any stuff in the works and they want to use it to recruit, you can deliver an application to somebody in 12 seconds. So just give us a call and we'll be more than happy to help.
Great. Thank you for that. I have almost 10 till. Let's do a couple of things. First of all, Mr. Director-elect, would you like to provide a synopsis of everything we've discussed for the last 45 minutes?
Sure.
Okay. Anything else valuable you'd like to share with the group, sir?
You know what? I think you're better off without me saying something completely out of context. But I appreciate that opportunity. I will say this, we're down to 5 months this year. I know all of our districts are in different places of membership, but I know I've talked to a few of you along the way who've told me about good things you have in the hopper. It is the time of year to make the push, because we know it's going to happen in June, really starting around May 15th. And the quickest way to have an impact on your membership is through the creation of these new clubs. So looking forward to seeing lots of good things happen over the next few months.
Thank you, sir. The good news is you will soon be receiving an email after this call with therein the link to the Dropbox where you can view a recording of this call at your leisure and convenience. So for those of you who weren't able to join us right at the top of the hour, that opportunity will exist very soon. Oh, wait, here comes Carol back. So with that said, let me, before we run out of official time, throw one more thing up on the screen, and that is a little bit of reminder. As far as what the calendar for the next few weeks looks like. The next membership action plan, AKA MAP call, will be 6 days from today, Monday, February the 12th at 6 p.m. The topic will be onboarding your ticket to engaged members. A week after that, on Monday the 19th, is the monthly DMC call at 5 p.m., hosted by your very own RC, Terry Weaver. The next day on the 20th is reporting day, if you will, where we ask that your ICA numbers be input onto the spreadsheet by the end of business, if at all possible. Speaking of which, let's all give a round of applause to Carol Burdett, who currently is the only person with her box checked on the spreadsheet for the month of February.
7750. Woohoo!
What she doesn't want you to know is that she actually meant for that box to be checked in January, but she was a day late in doing so, and she said it would be okay if I picked on her. So when you go to the spreadsheet, you will see that Carol Burdett for the month of February is 29 days ahead of the rest of us. But please, if you would, try to get your information on there by the 20th. Then the next information call is Monday, March the 4th. And then Tuesday the 5th will be the next one of these monthly ICA calls at 5 p.m. For the greater good of the group, is there anything else anybody would like to throw out there before we call it a wrap?
Sean, I completely got lost. My phone went dead. And I was about to say a few minutes ago, one, it was my fault. Patrick was late. So Patrick, I apologize. But number two, with our satellite club, we have about 5 of our members, and we try to, at least 2 of us attend our satellite club every time they meet to help give them some support and direction, because let's face it, they join knowing nothing about Rotary. And so without us parenting them, they'd be pretty lost. So I think what we do is really important, is supporting our satellite or companion, whatever impact club, whatever you want to call it. We have a responsibility if we want them to grow into strong service clubs for our community.
Great. And thanks for being a good sport too, Carol. I appreciate that.
Pick on me anytime.
Anything else anybody's got to contribute? If not, I will send an email out and copy everybody on it that very graciously offered to serve on our template building team, whatever we're going to call that. I'm sure we'll come up with a fancy acronym for it in true Rotary fashion, so that we can kind of get coordinated and figure out what and when and how that's going to look going into it. Otherwise, I appreciate everybody's time. Thank you all very much again for making the call. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I hope you got some good juicy details out of it. If I can be of any help to you between now and the next call, let me know. Otherwise, please stay safe, take care of yourselves, and we'll see you all soon.
Hey, Sean, hang tight for a minute if you would.
Absolutely.